Colleen Ballinger's return to YouTube is more than just frustrating for those who are outraged over what she had done. It also displays a very concerning inconsistency with the way that YouTube handles consequences. So Colleen Ballinger has returned to YouTube, and naturally, most people are not happy about that. For those of you who somehow don't know who Colleen Ballinger is, she is a very popular creator on YouTube. If you haven't heard of her prior to her ukulele video that was released over the summer after addressing very heinous actions that she was accused of, and addressing is putting it lightly because in my opinion she was just making a mockery of the entire thing, but we'll get to that in a second. Prior to all of this, she was very popular for creating content that had a majority audience of what I assume is mostly kids. I say I assume because when she would go on her tours, the majority of the people filmed throughout all of her tours seemed to be very young, people who were not over the age of 18, especially when it came to people she brought up on stage. For a long time, Colleen Ballinger has been receiving accusations of being extremely inappropriate with her underage fans. A few years ago, a creator known as Adam McIntyre made a video talking about his experience with her at a very young age, mind you, and a lot of really awful things she had put him through. Now, a few years ago, one of the biggest things she was criticized for was sending lingerie to Adam when he was, I want to say 13 or 14, while she was in her 30s. And even though Adam had spoken out against Colleen for this being extremely inappropriate, he was met with a lot of backlash at the time from creators, some of which were on the larger scale. Even James Charles, who we'll talk about later as well, he received backlash for calling her out because she framed it in a way where this was just a joke and he was pushing me to send it. And even if that was the case, he was still a kid that you sent lingerie to. That's really, really creepy. The way she framed it and the way reality actually was were two completely different things. The reason why I'm bringing this up, by the way, isn't just because I want to give you a recap in case you don't remember or in case you didn't see my previous videos or know about the situation from anybody else, but also because this is a really important conversation about the way she has responded to this every single time so far. As we more recently found out a few months ago, back in the beginning of summer, a lot more had come out and she was not going to be able to escape the accusations the same way she did the first time. And what's worse is that some of this was going on in plain sight. In fact, at some points, she had even made fun of YouTube apologies.
There's only one thing that can save you now. Drop it, Corey. You have to do an apology video. It'll go viral, and then you'll become very, very famous. Okay, this is your only chance at saving yourself and not getting canceled. And go.
I'm sorry.
No, that's terrible. You can't actually apologize. Oh, that person you saw, that wasn't me. I don't even know who that is anymore. And if you sit with anybody, and if you don't forgive me, that's okay.
And if you want to be a part of my journey online, I would love to have you, and if not, I completely understand. I do not expect anyone to welcome me back with open arms. I don't expect to change anyone's mind with this video. I just wanted to come on here and say that I'm sorry, and I wanted to try to show people that it's possible for someone to grow and learn and be better after making mistakes many years ago.
By the way, what gets on my nerves in this apology is the fact that to people who don't know the details of the situation, this sounds like a really rational thing to be said, because every average person makes mistakes and grows from things and learns from things throughout their lifetime. They look back on things that they regret and wish they could change, but know that they can't, and the only thing that they can change are their actions moving forward, which is almost verbatim to what she says in this video.
I'm not a perfect person, and there are plenty of things in my past that I wish I could go back and redo and fix and change. I don't have control over any of that, and I don't have control over the things people say about me. I only have control over my actions moving forward.
And the reason why this gets on my nerves so badly is because she's trying to make this seem like a relatable situation in hopes that her remaining audience is ignorant to the details of what she had actually done. Because for those who are aware of the details on what she had done, they would know that this is not an average person's experience. Most people do not end up sending lingerie to young children. Most Most people don't end up sending unclothed images of others to young children. And these are the things that Colleen Ballinger has been accused of, among many others. And the cherry on top is the fact that she follows the blueprints of this YouTuber apology skit that she did a while back. The only thing she didn't do was cry and ask people to buy her merch. I want to make it crystal clear that the things she was accused of are things that one would normally not be able to walk away from. She was accused of sending lingerie to a child, which she has admitted to, by the way, whether she wants to twist the details or not. She was accused of being really inappropriate to her underage fans, both on stage and privately. She was accused of allegedly participating in the distribution in sending unclothed images of other people to kids. That is something that, in my opinion, deserves to be investigated. After this had all come out, she had made the well-known ukulele video that was titled Hi on her Colleen Vlogs channel, and that was the last that we've heard directly from Colleen until about a week ago when she made this video, which is just titled Fall Vlog. In this video, she states that she has been going to therapy and that her therapist recommended she continues vlogging but not posting the vlogs, which is strange to me because I just personally don't see how that could be helpful, because if I were a therapist in her situation, I would be telling her to take a step back. Again, just my opinion. I'm not a mental health professional, so maybe that's why my opinion is that way.
Part of my therapy was to vlog because it was something I've done for so long, and it was something that was really important to me and made me feel me, because it was really jarring to not talk to everyone every day after doing it for 15 years. So my therapists all suggested that I continue to vlog even though I wasn't posting it anywhere, so I did.
She proceeds to very vaguely apologize, but without mentioning any of the names of the people that she's hurt, without addressing anything specifically, and just basically says, you know, I've done a lot of things that I wish I could take back, but I can't. And then moves on into fall vlogs, which she has been doing ever since.
Over the last 15 years of my career, there have been moments where I was immature and inappropriate with some of my comedy. And there were times when I did not put enough thought into some of my fan interactions. And because of that behavior, people got hurt. And I am so sorry. I never wanted to hurt anybody, but it's clear that I did, and I feel so terrible about that.
Adam McIntyre did respond to this. I'll leave his full video response to this and the older video linked in the description below for you to check out, because in my opinion, I think the most important voices to be heard about this are the people she's affected. But I do want to mention that in Adam McIntyre's response to this, he points something out that's really interesting, which is the fact that Colleen chose now to come back to YouTube. And there's two big things happening right now that make this decision a little suspicious. The first is that right now is around the 6-month mark since she's made her Toxic Gossip Train video. If There Is a Hell, that song will definitely be playing as a soundtrack in the background on loops.
To the block, prisoner. Nice and easy.
What in oblivion is that? Sentries, what do you see?
Hey, it's been a while since you saw my face. I haven't been doing so great, so I took a little break. A lot of people are saying some things about me that aren't quite true. Doesn't matter if it's true though, just as long as it's entertaining to you. Right? You guys having fun? All aboard the toxic gossip train, chugging down the tracks of misinformation.
I digress. It's been about 6 months since she's made that video, and as Adam McIntyre pointed out, YouTube revokes monetization from inactive channels of, I believe, 6 months or longer. So it's very suspicious that at almost exactly 6 months, she starts posting again, which, by the way, as of right now, her content, it's doing about equally as well as it was doing prior to this controversy. Similar to the Sniper Wolf situation we've discussed several times on this channel, I personally believe that the reason why is because her audience is mostly kids, and kids don't really care about this stuff. But that was only one of the two reasons that I've mentioned. The second reason, again, the timing is extraordinarily interesting, that from November to the end of December is YouTube's largest ad revenue months. That means that any ad revenue Colleen gets from now until the end of the year is most likely going to be significantly higher than it was any prior month. This isn't true for every single video, but it does hold true for the majority of videos because this is the time of the year where YouTube pushes out the most ads on content. It's the biggest time of the year for people to be creating. So it's really interesting to see that she's now doing what seems to be daily vlogs at this particular point in time for those two reasons. And again, I want to mention that Adam McIntyre was the first to point that out as far as I'm aware, and it is something important to point out in my opinion because it is very suspicious.
Sussy bata.
I want to go back a little bit though. Let's go back to that apology she made in the first fall vlog and compare it to the other times she has addressed situations. The Toxic Gossip Train song, the time that she talked about apologies on stage, and I don't know if this was a reoccurring bit that she did on all of her tours, but this happened at least once, and once is enough to show where her mindset is about this type of situation, in my opinion. Prior to this were the times she has addressed Adam McIntyre specifically and directly a couple of years ago when he first spoke out against her. But this time is interesting because most people are extraordinarily frustrated with this. She very obviously does not show enough compassion or care towards the people that she's affected. Otherwise, in my opinion, she would have named those she did affect directly, who have come out very publicly against her and have shared their experiences regarding her. But in this video, she was very vague. She did say she hurt a lot of people with her actions, but she didn't go into the details of what she has been accused of, all of the reprehensible and heinous things that have come out over the past 6.5 months. She didn't really dive into that, and I believe it is because she probably wants to keep whatever audience she has left. If a lot of her audience is still kids who might not follow all of this information from other creators discussing this, she wants to keep it going. Now, if you look at the likes to dislikes, she is getting ratioed really, really hard on a lot of her new videos. I haven't checked the most recent ones, but the ones I have checked are really, really bad. But what strikes me as odd is that she is still gaining a lot of traction on those videos. What I also find extraordinarily interesting is the fact that she has seemingly no repercussions from any of this through YouTube, at least that I'm aware of. I'm assuming her channel is still monetized because there's nothing that states otherwise. She has not mentioned it. YouTube has not mentioned it. Her channel is obviously still active and she is continuously posting, and it seems like she just took a 6-month break, with the only repercussion obviously being public backlash and possibly the loss of sponsorships, because most of the time things like that happen. But from YouTube directly, there seems to be no information proving one way or another that any consequence has taken place. Personally, I do believe that something should have happened if she's going to admit that yes, she did hurt people and not deny the situation or not make any type of video debunking any claims, for a lack of a better term. There should have been something that happened, and I am growing increasingly frustrated with YouTube's inconsistency in response to different creators getting in different scandals. Believe it or not, I think I'm going to bring up J-Station for this first example, and I don't by any means imply that I think that any of these creators shouldn't have received a punishment. I'm just confused as to why some have and some haven't. If you are a new follower of mine, you might not know who J-Station is because he has been off of this platform, at least as J-Station, as far as we know, for a few years. A few years ago, I've discussed J-Station. A couple of other YouTubers have talked about him, and there were a lot of disgusting things he had done. He had made a lot of terrible YouTube videos. The most damaging one to his career was that he faked his, at the time, girlfriend's death, and his girlfriend had also claimed that he had allegedly abused her. There are so many things regarding J-Station that I have discussed in my older videos, and maybe I'll link one or two of them in the description here so you can check them out if you haven't seen them prior. One of the most egregious things, in my opinion, was that he went from Canada to Texas, and at his time in Texas, he stayed in a hotel alone with a minor. She was alone in a hotel with him. While she claimed that nothing had happened between the two of them, it was still extremely inappropriate that that had even happened at all. And there were some very creepy gestures that I had pointed out in my video that J-Station has made. And the guy sucks. I think he deserved to be punished by YouTube, but he was not punished for that. He was punished for the scandal with his, at the time, girlfriend, who, as far as I'm aware, was over the age of 18. YouTube very quickly demonetized his channel. I believe, my memory's fuzzy here because it's been a few years, I believe he was terminated for having another channel monetized, and then they considered it ban evading. But okay, you might be thinking to yourself, TehMimi, you know, the situation with J-Station was awful, and the situation with Colleen is awful, but they're two completely separate situations that I don't feel comfortable comparing because they're both so bad. If you think that, fair enough. Let me give you a different example. Let's go back to a couple of years ago when there was another scandal on YouTube, this time regarding a commentary channel known as Moist Critical. He is very popular to this day, and he made a video reacting to another video that was, and I believe still is, currently up on YouTube that displays a bunch of people dressed up as cartoon characters staging a fight. This was very obviously a fake video that Critical reacted to, and YouTube decided to give him a strike, and I also believe take that video down because they thought it was promoting harmful behavior. But then Markiplier, another very popular YouTube channel to this day, he also had a video reacting to that same video, and his video remained up, at least until Critical pointed it out and pointed out how Markiplier's video was still up and the original video itself was still up, yet his channel had gotten removed. Yet Markiplier's was fine until Markiplier spoke up about it, and then his video got a strike, and this created such an uproar until eventually I do believe both of their videos were reinstated and the strikes were removed. The original video, as far as I'm aware, went unaffected. So you're telling me a situation like that was handled in that way and took so much outrage to be fixed over something as stupid as a mock fight video by people dressed up as cartoon characters, but somebody else can harm their audience directly for a long period of time and have so much come out against them and not receive any consequences? That doesn't make sense to me. We have other examples. Other creators have pointed out that people like EDP445 were very quickly terminated after the sting operation that took place with him. I can't even show videos of that sting operation anymore because now they are punishing creators for just showing footage of that because now they have a thing against sting operations, which is interesting to me because they are now punishing channels that show footage of sting operations due to this situation, but EDP445's channel is still terminated? That's weird. But anyway, EDP445 was very quickly terminated after information came out that he had planned to meet up with an underage fan to do very disgusting physical things with that no adult should be doing to a child. He did admit to this on camera. He later retracted it and claimed that it was staged. I don't believe that at all, but it is something he did try to pull. Again, the other thing too is that Colleen Ballinger admitted to hurting people. She was very vague about it, but she didn't deny any of the accusations in this recent video. She did technically claim that the accusations were rumors in her ukulele video, but there was no specific mention of what accusation was a rumor, what wasn't, and she talked about how that video was embarrassing to have made.
Obviously, the last video that I posted on here is really embarrassing, to say the least. I was being accused of some pretty awful things and I just was mad, and I should have handled that situation with maturity and empathy, but instead I just let my ego take over, and I'm really disappointed in myself.
And she did admit to hurting people in the newest video she made.
And there were times when I did not put enough thought into some of my fan interactions, and because of that behavior, people got hurt.
There have been creators on this platform who have gotten terminated for sending and receiving inappropriate images to their underage fans. The first name that comes to mind is Austin Jones, a creator who was arrested for this, and it wasn't until he was arrested that YouTube acted upon it, which if across the board YouTube reacted in that way, that would at least make more sense, because they would be able to say, well, something legal has to happen first for us to get involved. But they have demonstrated that that's not necessarily the case. And it's also extremely inconsistent on the other end. There was another situation, this time involving a YouTuber known as James Charles. I'm sure many of you know about this already. I have made a video about this a while back. James Charles was accused of being extremely inappropriate to underage fans, sliding into the DMs of many underage fans with alleged sexual intent. He had been accused of sending pictures of himself, inappropriate photos, to people who were under the age of 18. At the time of these allegations, he had made, as far as I'm aware, 2 videos, but there may have actually been more, of him addressing the situation. And in one of those videos, he says the line, "I'm sorry to the victims." This has happened at least twice. Where things got muddy was that over a dozen people had come out with allegations of James Charles, and at least a couple of them had either admitted to or were proven to be fake. And this made things really, really hard for people who allegedly did go through this situation with James Charles, which we know there are at least 2 people that he has admitted to doing this to. If my math is correct here, out of a dozen people, that's only 4. There's still a fairly large amount of people who have come forward with accusations against James Charles. He did receive a consequence for this. His YouTube series, Instant Influencer, was canceled, or at least he was no longer going to be the host of it. And his channel, I do believe, if I remember correctly, was demonetized for a short period of time. But now it seems to be back to normal as if nothing has ever happened. The only difference is he no longer gets as many views as he once did, but he still gets enough views to live comfortably, probably for the rest of his life. And there are people to this day still coming out with accusations. During the release of James Charles' new makeup brand, another person has come forward on TikTok and claimed that James Charles had allegedly sent a photo of him unclothed to this person when they were underage, and he claims that James Charles knew that he was underage because James Charles allegedly wrote age check, to which he responded 16, and then James Charles allegedly added him on Snapchat where the photo allegedly was sent. If I am correct, this took place in 2020, and at the time of making this video, I don't believe James Charles has responded to this, confirming or denying this accusation. But something else happened recently that is absolutely enraging. A few months ago, an article was written in favor of James Charles, basically asking if he can be uncanceled now, and this was right before the launch of his makeup paints, which seems to be a liquid eyeshadow that comes out of a little squeezy tube as if they were like liquid pastel paints. And to rub salt in the wounds of the already frustrating situation that this is, there have been some creators who have talked about this recently and have gotten their videos age restricted while James Charles is seemingly thriving on YouTube still. One channel specifically was a creator known as Drama Queen who has covered this situation and the situation regarding the new accusations from that TikTok. So she's getting punished for talking about it, but he's receiving no repercussions for it, being the person that the accusations are against. To be fair, this isn't exclusive to YouTube. There was another creator known as Zoe Laverne who had a very intimate relationship with a 13-year-old while she was at the age of 19, and a lot of people were extremely outraged over this. Once again, I did make a video covering this a while back. Anytime anybody would talk about this over on TikTok, however, their videos would get removed, they would get penalized, and some accounts were even terminated. In my personal opinion, these situations with Colleen Ballinger and James Charles should be investigated legally. And so should this third example, who is a creator known as Miniladd. Miniladd is another YouTuber with a fairly large following up to this day, even if his views don't reflect it, and he has been accused of doing very awful things. I've talked about him a couple of years ago also. Miniladd was accused of sending extraordinarily inappropriate text messages with 2 underage, he claims they weren't fans, but they did have to know about his content, so we will just say viewers. 2 people have come out about this, and he had made a response. His response was basically, "I was really depressed, guys. Come on. That wasn't me. This isn't me."
It wasn't until 2016 when she was 17 that I first started to flirt with her. I was 21 at the time, and that's not okay. Whenever I saw them coming out with my message, I sent them this. This isn't me.
This man had planned to meet up with an underage follower of his in a very similar way that EDP-445 was caught in a sting operation, except for this wasn't a sting operation. This was with a real person. The plan didn't go through, I suppose, because there was no accusation of him actually meeting up with this person, but he had full intention to. If you read these text messages here, allegedly, he turned it into I was a really depressed person at the time, so if I was going to go out, I was going to go out swinging, whatever that meant. No regard whatsoever for the people involved in the situation. And he sent the most reprehensible and disgusting text messages to these two people, who again were underage. And at the time, he lived in Los Angeles. After this had all happened, conveniently right after, he moved back to Ireland. If I am correct, YouTube did demonetize him temporarily, but I had gone back to look at his channel. It's still up. Nothing had been done. He had admitted to this, by the way. He had admitted to sending these text messages. He had admitted to everything, just giving the excuse that he was depressed. YouTube, he said that he did it. EDP-445 admitted to it. They both admitted to doing these things with these intentions. In fact, I would say that this situation's worse because the people he did it to are real. Granted that EDP-445 had allegedly done this in the past, which had led to this sting operation, but the thing he admitted to on camera, at least, was a sting operation, whereas Miniladd's admitting to on camera that he did it, and his channel gets to remain. Now, even if his channel was demonetized, if you go to his videos now, which are a lot of live streams, ads do pop up. Here's the thing, YouTube now has implemented that even a YouTube channel without their monetization turned on can get ads on their videos. So it could very well be that it was coincidentally an ad placed on an unmonetized video or live stream. But the thing is, up to a month or two ago, he was still live streaming. He was still creating content for this channel. It might not be getting the views that it once got, but if you look in the description, it shows donations and a donation link that is not directly through YouTube, which makes me wonder if he never did get his monetization back. Either way, he's still making money off of this channel, even if he's demonetized. It's so inconsistent and so confusing on why one channel gets away with it and another doesn't, why one person admits to it and receives no punishment, and then another person does receive it. If you are going to terminate one channel for this, you should be doing it across the board, or you should be waiting for authorities to investigate like they had once had that rule before making a decision. It's just a lack of consistency that I find frustrating and confusing, and I do think some sort of punishment should take place for all of these creators that I have just mentioned, because everything that every one of them has done is absolutely reprehensible, is absolutely disgusting, and does need some sort of punishment, with the exception to the Critical and Markiplier situation, because that was just an example of YouTube making a mistake that was very stupid, but that mistake was still made while other accounts have made far worse decisions with far less of a punishment. It's really not that hard to not send inappropriate, unclothed photos of yourself or others to underage kids. It should really not be that hard. It should not be that hard to not seek out relationships or not sext underage fans. It really shouldn't be that hard. I don't understand why people find it so goddamn hard to not do these things. It shouldn't be that fucking hard. Colleen Ballinger was vague in admitting what she did, but she did say that she hurt people, that she was inappropriate with the way she handled fan interactions. She was accused of sending unclothed images of other people. It doesn't matter who it was. She sent unclothed images of an adult to children. Allegedly, she's been accused of this. She had an opportunity to say, I didn't do that. That was a lie. That was untrue. Instead, she was very vague when she came back and is now acting like everything's fine. Everything is not fine. None of this is okay. There needs to be things set in stone to show that she cannot get away with doing this again. Because her giving her word or saying, you know, I'm changing, I'm in therapy, guys, like, you do not deserve to be trusted on your word alone. When it comes to the safety of a YouTuber's child audience, if that safety is broken and they are shown to be predatory to their fans, their underage fans, allegedly, that needs to be investigated and that needs to have some sort of action taken against it, especially when they admit to it. Something needs to be done so that people know that it won't happen again. I apologize for sounding like a broken record. I also apologize for myself not being very consistent with posting my regular content here. I do want to go into that a little bit before I end this video. From here on out, I'm going to try my best to get back to my normal scheduled content and be much more active than I have been over this past month. This month has been very unexpected. I have been dealing with a lot of mental and physical health issues, and I am getting a lot of testing done to figure out why that is. I have a few good ideas as to why that is, but I don't want to say anything until I get test results back in case I'm wrong, and that's not what it is. I just haven't been doing well physically or mentally, and it's not anything like a cold or like COVID or anything like that. It's a lot of strange, unique things that I haven't really experienced to this severity before. It just hasn't been good this past month. I'm not gonna lie, even now I still feel pretty crappy, but I'm going to try really hard to get back onto a consistent schedule, even if I do. I am really tired of the way that I've been feeling, make it harder for me to do things that I normally do, so I'm trying my best to get back to a normal schedule. With that being said, I have a lot of topics to discuss with you within the next few videos. Originally, this was just going to be a mashup of all of those topics in one video, but every single topic that I want to share with you is so detailed and I have so many thoughts on it. I have so much to say about each thing that it has to be its own video for each situation. Usually when I do a mashup video, it's because the topics are so short that they wouldn't make it to a regular length video. But in this case, each topic I have so much to say that there's no way that they would all fit into one mashup video. So this is the first one out of like 5 other things I want to talk about with you. So I will be busy making that content for you and talking about that with you. So stay tuned. Thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end of this video. Thank you so much to everybody supporting me over on Patreon, and thank you so much to anybody who has given me a super thanks. With that being said, I will see you in the next video.